Well, you may remember 2016 kicked off with a wild ride on Wall Street. The Dow Jones, it had its worst start to a new year ever recorded. It did recover though, but it settled kind of right around where it started and hasn't really changed much.
Yeah, so what does this mean for our 401ks? Here to explain is Darrell Bryant, also known as Omaha's retirement strategist. Darrell is the president of D. Bryant Retirement Strategies.
He also hosts his own radio show called Retirement Strategies Radio on News Radio 1110. KFAB right here in Omaha. Darrell, good to see you.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, not everybody follows the stock markets or understands them completely, but it seems like we kind of follow our 401ks. So how does a stagnant market affect our 401ks?
Well, there is a tiny little thread of good in that you're usually dollar cost averaging, in other words, systematically investing in your 401k. So that does help, a little bit because you can keep on buying at a reasonable rate. But what we're looking for naturally is growth and growth and growth every year. Why? Because we have fees that we're paying to have that 401k managed. Most people have no idea what those fees are, and they can be pretty high. We're fighting against inflation as well, and eventually we're going to have to pay taxes. So we really need to get some consistent growth over time to primarily combat, inflation and taxes.
Not seeing much movement in the markets. Does that mean then we could be in store for something dramatic either way?
I think so. I think we're positioning right now for a decline. We have really high PE ratios. In other words, the price to earnings ratio, what we might pay for something versus what we're going to get in return. The dividend, you're going to pay a certain price for a stock. What do I get out of the deal? That is very high right now. But more important, we have global problems. We have way too much oil. We're still producing oil. It's not being used. We're not shipping stuff around. So we have a slowing global economy. Then we have the U.S. who is talking about moving rates forward, right? We've all heard about that. They're going to begin to incrementally do that. Whereas Japan and Europe, they're having an economic slowdown. They're talking about moving rates the wrong direction, right? In Japan, if you want to park some dollars at the bank, you might have to pay 0.4 of a point just to put your money there, almost a half a point a year just for a parking place for your money.
That seems inconceivable.
Yeah, so you asked if we are expecting anything dramatic or anything. These are uncommon times, and we don't have any period of time historically where we looked anything like we do now. Economists and market guys were always trying to say, well, when this happened and that happened, and A plus B usually equals C. We have nothing like that right now, so it's a very unusual period of time with the manipulation of the Fed and so forth. So it's a difficult time right now, especially for the safe money person.
Well, listen, we know what happened in 2008 with the stock market and our 401ks. But what's your advice to people who aren't really, they don't follow it closely, they don't follow the stock market daily? What should they do to protect their 401ks?
Well, that's a great question because there's a lot of things that you cannot do within your 401k that you might like to do. If you're a savvy investor, you might like to use momentum investing or dynamic investing, which would be kind of like an asset allocation where you're recalibrating every once in a while, et cetera, or look at economic data points or something like that to to have a variety of investment disciplines, one of which will hopefully outpace the other, during the course of a year. Generally, you can't do that inside of a 401k, and there aren't very many protective devices there. So my advice ordinarily is, if we can transfer dollars out and self-direct, obviously the world opens up to us. We can do anything we want to outside of that 401k. We're not restricted by a menu, are we? Now we can use any discipline that we would like, and most importantly, that puts us in a position where we can use Asset Lock, which is it's a portfolio monitoring software that monitors all of our clients' accounts. So we're never going to see any steep devaluation in those accounts, even though we're completely market sensitive. So it's a wonderful tool.
As Omaha's retirement strategist, because retirement is what you do, and we talk about the red zone, that 5 to 7 years from the point that you'd like to retire. If our viewers are within that period, should they start paying attention differently than everybody else to the markets?
Yeah, we're pretty strong on a variety of investment disciplines as you move through. But what we see more often than anything, Mary, when people are moving toward retirement is they look on paper like they're 40 or 45, and yet here they are at age 65. They have this aggressive posture. They have their neck stuck out there quite a little bit. Anyone would tell you, if you stop and think, anyone would tell you that it would be wise to have an underpinning of safe stuff, right? Safety first, and then a variety of investment disciplines, okay, as I mentioned to you before, and then asset lock, even on those. So if those should devalue, then we're even covered there. So there are a lot of things you can do. So if you're sitting out there and you're afraid that you might have a market decline, or we might have a market decline, you'd be directly affected, but you're trying to grow your money. You know, it's a very difficult situation in this time. Just call the office and we'll show you how to do rollovers. It's a tax-free event and get set up for retirement properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know, you don't have to be a market expert out there to plan for a successful retirement, because Darrell makes it easy for you to get started with an educational book, right?
Yes.
Today it's called 7 Secrets to a Happy Retirement by author Patrick Kelly. And he's giving away a free copy today to the first 25 callers. The number, Mayor?
It's 402-932-2141. Thanks for the handoff. So
You like that?
Darrell, I know Patrick Kelly. You respect him. You always recommend what he writes.
Yep.
Why is it important for our viewers to get their hands on this book?
This book, and I brought you guys a copy here too, 7 Secrets to a Happy Retirement. Patrick writes a lot of things. I write a lot. We have some similarities in what we write about, and Patrick's just an ordinary guy writing about really, really important things that he's learned over he's been in the business 30 years as well. This particular book goes beyond, and it's not very big, I'll leave you guys a copy. Goes beyond just the financial and really begins to dip into why are you doing what you're doing? What was the target in the first place? And then you can begin to, and you're reminded of, what were we trying to do? We were trying to get to a stress-free retirement. We were trying to get to a point where we have income coming in. We're not worried about that. We can go do the things that we wanted to do and relax a little bit. And this helps you to put you in the right frame of mind.
Well, Mary talked about that red zone. If you're in that retirement red zone, 5 to 7 years from retirement, give Darrell's office a call to set up a one-on-one retirement review with someone on his team. You can also learn more about Darrell by visiting his website, dbryantretirementstrategies.com.
In a couple of weeks, we'll launch a new segment with Darrell called Ask the Strategist. During these monthly,
I didn't know that was coming. That
Listen
sounds
to
good.
this, Darrell. So during those monthly segments, he's going to answer your retirement questions on the air. You can send an email to questions@omahasretirementstrategist.com. Put question in the subject line, and don't forget to include your name and your phone number. Keep your question brief, and then look for yours to be answered right here on The Morning Blend.
All right, good info today, Darrell.
Outstanding. Thanks for having me. Have a great week.
Darrell.
Yeah, you too. Have a good week as well.
Thank
Guest
you.
in the Morning